You're listening to the Meta Business Innovation and Technology Podcast, conversations with industry leaders on new trends and products that can grow your business. Today, Fanula Austin, creative strategist with Meta's Creative Shop, sits down with Greg Weiss, director of digital and social marketing at Mastercard. Together, they discuss Mastercard's LGBTQIA+ community support initiatives, the value in building an inclusive and equitable metaverse, and how brands are entering this new and exciting space.
Hi, Greg. So nice to see you today. We're here today to talk about some incredibly innovative work that Mastercard did in time for Pride 2022 in service of the LGBTQIA+ community. I know that over the years, Mastercard has had a long ongoing relationship with Pride and with serving organizations that are really there for the LGBTQIA+ community. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and why that's so crucial for Mastercard?
Sure. And thanks so much, Fanula. It's great to see you today as well. And I'm glad to have this conversation today. I think your question is such an important one. It's fundamental to our brand and our sort of view of inclusion broadly and how important inclusion around the world is, not just financial inclusion, but inclusion of communities that are underrepresented, don't have opportunities that maybe others have. And this community that we're talking about today, the LGBTQIA+ community, certainly is of great importance to Mastercard. And we're not a brand that is going to just show up and say, Happy Pride, we stand with the community, and have no actions behind it. We're a brand that really, walks the walk and doesn't just talk the talk. So, I've been fortunate enough to work here and look forward to our, the ways that we've been doing so over the years, not just this year, but for all the years I've been here. I would say the sort of more recent era of what Mastercard has done in support of the community really got, to new heights and to new levels for our company and for those that are benefiting from the work we do in 2019. And I always point to the innovation of True Name Card as something incredible that I've been so happy to be part of the last few years, especially. But realizing that when people in the transgender community go to pay for something in a store, they may not feel confident when they pull out the card in their wallet that has a name that they don't necessarily relate with anymore. And that perhaps holds people back from using their card. But also some pretty terrible stories, were brought to our attention as we were thinking about this, of people that were bullied, people that were harassed, people that were teased, people that were even physically assaulted because their appearance didn't match the name on their card. And that innovation that Mastercard put forward to allow people to put their chosen name on their card was groundbreaking for the community. So 2019 was a big year for that. It was also the year that we launched the Acceptance Street sign in New York City as a physical installation at the corner of Christopher Street and Gay Street. Obviously, an incredibly Instagrammable installation, but more importantly than the fact that thousands of people stood in front of it and took selfies and shared onto their Instagram channels and other social presences. More importantly was the impact that made of Mastercard doing something that brought attention to inclusion of all people at this Acceptance Street sign. And it really was a groundbreaking moment for us as well. And throughout the last couple of years, especially during the COVID years, we figured out how we can keep that going. Maybe we couldn't do a physical street sign installation in 2020 or 21, but we put that out in the digital world as things that people could create content with and still get the message out. We still innovate and evolve our True Name efforts to make sure more people are aware of it and more people are taking part in that product, and that, even outside members of the community, that people could bring their friends or their relatives that maybe would get value of this product into the fore. So it's really been a great run. And in 2022, continuing with so much of the themes, but bringing this new project, into our efforts in the metaverse has been incredible for me. And I know we're going to talk a lot more about true self world and what that means, during this conversation. But that evolution of like our brand North Star of inclusion to some of the recent innovations for the LGBTQI plus community to now here we are in 2022, beginning our work in the metaverse, which I think will be the first of many things that we do together.
Absolutely. And I've got to say, We at Meta work with such a range of brands that do work for the LGBTQIA plus community, especially around Pride Month. And I've always loved how Mastercard is showing up, yes, to celebrate. Of course, so many great selfies taken in front of that Acceptance Street sign at Gay Street and Christopher Street, but also to do more. And I personally learned a lot about the trans and non-binary communities by hearing about the innovation of the True Name card. So fast forward to 2022, this step into the metaverse. Could you give everyone an overview of True Self World and what the project and the campaign was for Pride 2022?
Sure. Thanks. So for 2022, we always look at innovation as a pillar that we shouldn't just do the same thing that we've done each year, even though what we've done has been impactful. And even though we can still, impact many people positively through it. We thought, what can we do that's new and different? And the team at Meta came to us with just an incredible opportunity. I mean, I kid you not, the conversations that I had been pulled into around Metaverse at first were a little bit, whoa, where do we go with this? What does this mean to us? How do I even start thinking about something that's so new that like literally, only a handful of months has started to become real? And we were thinking about Metaverse and what it means. And there, lo and behold, in some of our conversations with the team at Meta ongoing, this opportunity came up for True Self World and to build an experience in the metaverse. So, if you think about Mastercard and experiences in the physical world, we're really good at creating things that people can enjoy in physical world and have a positive experience with and tell people about. But we need to evolve how we create experiences in the digital world, right? And we've done that through things like Facebook Live or Instagram Live. We've done that through storytelling and content. That's all great, but the metaverse has really brought a new level of participation to us and a new level of interaction between people to us. So what started as really a blank sheet of paper or an email that said, yeah, let's do it, but we don't know what we're going to do yet, evolved into something really profoundly wonderful. For those that have visited it and explored, I think everyone would agree. For those who haven't seen it yet, the ability to create a space, a safe space, where people in the community, but allies of the community as well, can come to make new friends, to have conversations that are personal or of a broader nature, to be able to dance in a club together and interact in a fun, joyful way. A big focus of our efforts this year was around this concept that we called priceless advice. And the idea behind priceless advice was to encourage people in the LGBTQIA plus community to consider writing a letter to their younger selves, whether they're young as a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, a lifetime ago. It didn't matter. What mattered is the importance of letting out your feelings and writing that letter and sharing advice that you would give to your younger self is not only something that's very healthy to do for oneself, but also something that should people want to share with friends, family, followers, strangers, broader community, and inspire others to consider how you have gone through something in your life that someone else may be going through something similar, and the advice and ways that people have overcome challenges is really emotional to read and really inspiring to others who may benefit from that. So featuring letters that real people wrote to their younger selves in True Self World was a no-brainer for us. To be able to stand in front of a giant letter that's taller and bigger than you are, both in physical space and metaphorically, it's such a big statement to read a letter that someone has written to their former self, and to immerse yourself in that. It's just incredibly moving. And we've gotten great feedback from people that have done so. So that was really where we started, is priceless advice, letters to your younger self. But we realized the nature of a world in Horizon Worlds shouldn't be one dimensional. There's no need to feature only one thing. So we said, how do we feature other things, such as the acceptance street sign as a focal point for inspiration and reflection, or such as a history of True Name Card and a history of what Mastercard has been doing, for the community as a museum in Horizon Worlds. It's just been amazing. The opportunities really have been endless, and I think we've only scratched the surface on what True Self World has the potential to evolve into as the world continues to live and evolve over time.
Absolutely. I mean, I know we started out by talking about how Mastercard has really served the LGBTQIA+ community, not just celebrating during Pride, but in a really meaningful way. And I think the different pillars that True Self World hit upon. So yes, celebration, there's a dance floor, there's a selfie station, you can go down a slide, but also those moments of reflection and connection that we built in, the Kiki pods where you can talk one-on-one or in small groups, the stage where you can share your truth, and of course, reflecting in front of those letters to their younger selves were really important moments of the experience to me. I think we should set up as well that, we talked about how this was an opportunity that Meta brought Mastercard, but this really was a partnership with lots of people involved. Both McCann, the creative agency, and also the creators who are members of the LGBTQIA+ community who we worked with, Rhonda X and Skitter. So an amazing kind of co-building experience that we had there.
Yeah, I would agree. This has been a dream team. I mean, I have such fond memories of all of the meetings and all of the phone calls, and the meetings that we even had in True Self World as a team were just wonderful. I think for everyone involved, this was somewhat of a dream project, and you could feel the energy across everyone involved to figure out how to collaborate and have the best intentions to build the best experience that we possibly could. And it was just a contagious sort of feeling of genuine positivity across everyone, the whole time. It's interesting. I go back to your last question around our broader, sort of messaging campaign. And a key line that we've used across everything this year is because being your true self is priceless. And that certainly is important in all the work we do creatively. It's also important in the work we do as a team and the way we work together and the valuing of everyone's unique perspectives. And as you said, Fanula, having Rhonda and Skitter as members of the community and having a creative team at McCann with members of the community working on the project made sure that the right perspective was at the table the entire time, that we were inclusive of the community from the very first moment we put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard of ideating about this. We were representing the community throughout every step of the way. And it was just an incredible team that we brought together around this. So thanks for all of the work that the Meta side and you and your colleagues have done, the McCann team, my Mastercard colleagues, Rhonda and Skitter, dream team for sure.
Absolutely. I know we all loved working on it. And anyone who's listening who hasn't visited True Self World, if you've got a Quest 2 headset, get on into Horizon Worlds and jump in. We'd love to hear what you think. But what sort of feedback and response have you seen more broadly since we launched? Any success metrics you can share, or even feedback from Mastercard employees who weren't directly involved?
Yeah, it's been an incredible feedback loop for me and my colleagues throughout this, because working on something that's never been done before, in many ways, the result is that we did it, right? And if we just doing it and learning from it is a win in and of itself. That said, I've been so excited as we were looking and, together at the metrics rolling in and knowing that we were in the top 1% of most visited worlds for a really long stretch. It wasn't just like we launched it and on day one we had a big moment and we were in the top 1% most visited worlds in Horizon Worlds. No, it was really sustained over what I would consider a pretty long period of time. So that shows that there was a lot of interest in exploring the world, whether it be people exploring it for the first time and or people coming back and exploring it further. But that was a really important and really exciting number for us to look at. In terms of responses, I mean, look, anytime you do something new, it's unfamiliar territory. It's unfamiliar to everyone. So, we've gotten a ton of positive feedback, both externally from people that have explored Horizon Worlds, as well as a ton of positive feedback internally. There's also some negative feedback. Some people are a little confused. They're not so sure what this is. They're learning for the first time. And that I think comes with the territory. I mean, brands take a risk by doing something new. And, for us, the ability to lead and do something new that we have no baseline on is exciting. So, it's been great. I think the success we've seen externally on this has really helped open up our thinking into this wasn't a one and done and something that was a great project, but then on to the next innovation. This was a bit of a test and learn in a big way that helped us validate what we thought was true, that this environment, that Horizon Worlds is an environment by which people find value in and a place that we can make impact on the world as a brand, and has really opened up a lot of our thinking into how can we continue not just to evolve True Self World, but how might we build other worlds that align with different communities or different sorts of passions that people have that align with our brand.
Absolutely. I think two other sort of metrics of success that I'd throw out too. One, the dwell times that we're seeing in True Self World and in Horizon Worlds more broadly. This is so much more significant than watching a 15 or 30-second video from a brand, actually walking around a virtual world that they've created, choosing to spend time there and socialize with there. The memories that you form when you're walking around a Horizon World feel like you've been to an in-person event. And I'm very excited about what that means for brands, that people are choosing to spend time with them. The other thing I'd shout out is, it was great for Ad Age to kind of recognize Mastercard as a leader in this space, naming Mastercard the #1 Metaverse marketer of the month for the efforts on Horizon Worlds and also your work you've been doing on Decentraland. So those were things I'm really excited to see. I focus on financial services brands, and to be able to see a brand like Mastercard coming out as a leader in innovation here is something that we don't always expect from the financial services or fintech industry. So that was personally very gratifying. I think you've already talked about a few of the learnings, Greg. Obviously, metaverse marketing is nascent. It's something that so many brands are trying to get in on right now. What learnings do you have for other brands that might just be starting to dip their toe in and experiment in the space?
Yeah, I mean, I think not being afraid to try is, it's so basic, but it's so important that, any marketer who is hearing the word metaverse but afraid of it, don't be afraid. The reality is it's new for everyone. There's jobs that exist today that work on metaverse that didn't exist 6 months ago or 12 months ago. So have no fear. Turn fear into curiosity and explore opportunities, because the best way to learn is by doing. We can all go out and we can read articles about what other brands are doing and learn from that, no doubt about it. But until you actually roll up your sleeves and sweat through your shirt and get a chance to work on it, it's really hard to understand. So my advice is find a way to do something. And it doesn't have to be the biggest launch of the biggest, budget it can be whatever feels attainable, whatever feels possible. I think anything is. What I do keep coming back to is the fact of the matter is Horizon Worlds was set up for individual people like us, to actually learn how to play and learn how to build and learn how to create. So while there is obviously huge advantage in working with people like Rhonda and Skitter, who are really excellent at this and can really bring to life in a big way what we were able to achieve. If you're on a more limited sort of budget or limited resources, there's still a way, and it doesn't have to be an A++ every time. Don't go in with the mentality thinking that you need to launch an award-winning metaverse experience. Go in with the thinking that you're going to launch something that's of value to someone. And if only one person gets value from it, it's still okay, because you learn something from it, and you're going to continue to evolve and go on next time. And it's just the beginning, right? It's like in 2008 when the iPhone came out, it was really scary to think about, how does our brand build an app? Should we even have an app? That's scary. No one's ever done it before. But if you learn and you do it a little bit and you get one under your belt, then the second one's a little bit easier, and the third one's a little bit easier after that. So marketers, have no fear. Find a way, turn fear into curiosity, and just know that when you go into it, chances are the team you're working with, your internal colleagues, your agency partners, platform partners, it's still new for all of us. So we're all learning together. And I think that adds a lot of that contagious energy of positivity that I talked about before, that everyone's excited to learn. And there's a lot of benefit to your careers as marketers to be amongst the first people in the industry to get a chance to work on a project like this. So don't walk away from the opportunity, run towards the opportunity and find it. And if it doesn't exist, create it, because we're all smart enough to understand our brand and where our brand might be able to play in this. But talk to other people, find a way. It's well worth it.
So, Greg, you're throwing out a lot of words there, like first or only the beginning. Can you say anything more about what's next for Mastercard? Will this experimentation continue? What's next for you and the metaverse?
Yeah, I mean, look, our commitment to exploring new territories in our marketing has always existed. And we are a technology company. We're a technology company in the financial services space. So as a technology company, we do have to be modern marketers as well. We need to walk the and not just talk the talk. So, without giving specific examples of, this world X is launching in 6 weeks, because I'm not going to commit necessarily to that. I will say, across all of our major passions that we care about, whether it be sports or music or shopping or travel, and the list goes on, we've got ideas around each of those. And we're excited as we look, not just towards 2023, but even towards the back half of 2022, how can we create meaningful experiences around consumer passions? Our brand is a brand that focuses on experiences, so it's natural for us to think about experiences, priceless experiences offline, and how that might translate into the metaverse and into Horizon Worlds. I think continuing to think about served communities is important from a brand purpose standpoint. Like, we do want to continue to explore not just consumer passions that I mentioned before, but how do those intersect with communities that may find value in new worlds that we create. So yes, more to come. I think the ability to give people choice in where they spend their digital time, as well as where they spend their non-digital time, is important, right? I mean, I've always believed that as people, we all have the same pie chart. We have 100% of our time, and how we choose to divide that time is our choice. We know some of that time has to be sleeping. So one of the wedges in our pie chart is sleep. Other wedges in our pie chart might be scrolling through Instagram. Other wedges in our pie chart might be coaching our kids' Little League teams. There's lots of we choose the number of wedges in our pie chart and the size of each wedge. Right now, when I first joined this project, the Metaverse sliver of my pie was very small. By working on this project, the Metaverse sliver of my pie has grown. And I think for people at large, that sliver of pie is going to grow as well. Therefore, we need to be there so that we have meaningful experiences when people want to connect, and our brand can play a unique role in it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for us, this was a dream project to work on at Meta's Creative Shop. Obviously, one, because of the focus on the metaverse, it's there in our company name. But two, a creative shop, we always talk about being people first and starting with communities, as you're mentioning. The need is here. We already see in the communities of creators and visitors to Horizon Worlds that often they are from underrepresented or underserved communities that maybe can't always come together safely in real life. So a real highlight of this project for me was thinking about how could we build inclusively and how could we build for the safety of the community, as well as creating an experience that would delight and entertain. As Mastercard looks forward to the future of metaverse marketing, how are you thinking about what does inclusivity and safety for different communities look like in this new virtual reality future?
Yeah, very important, as you mentioned, important for your company, important for our company, important for people that are, in the metaverse. It was a huge topic that we discussed throughout the project. And again, none of us knew what was going to happen. We would need to learn as we went. But I do think a lot of the safety controls that Meta has put in place for users to be able to protect themselves and report behavior are really good steps, as well as for the community to do the same, right? And I think the user controls are important for us as a brand. We made sure that our employees, including myself, were spending extra time also joining the world just to make sure that what was happening was safe. And we did that. And I know, people from your side did as well, because it's so important to all of us. Brand safety is always going to be important and difficult to fully control. But I think the base controls in place were good, and we continue to focus on it. And I know there's more to come in how this all evolves. I will say I'm particularly impressed by the thinking in how the team at Meta has built Horizon Worlds, in terms of it never feeling like a full stadium full of people, to use a metaphor. And at first, when we were working on the project, I was a little bit confused, thinking, wait, when people come into True Self World, they're not going to see hundreds of people at once. It's going to feel really small, and it's going to feel like no one cares. And then working through this together and learning about how, there never would be more than 12 or 15 people in an individual instance of the world, and that a world instance would replicate to always keep the number of people manageable. It's such a wonderfully smart approach from a brand safety perspective, from a community member perspective, but also from a interacting with people perspective, because you can't be in a stadium full of people and have real meaningful conversation and meaningful interaction with a small group of people. You can be part of a group, and that feels wonderful, but seeing people interact in True Self World in smaller numbers of, up to the, 10, 12, 15 people makes for a more enriching and more intimate and meaningful interaction. So that experience from experiential standpoint also, I think, has translated into some really smart controls from a safety perspective as well, so that it never feels like you're being ganged up on by hundreds of people, or impossible to manage what may be unwieldy by having hundreds of people at once.
Yeah, I think to extend your metaphor a little bit, it's like we all get the VIP seats or front row ticket when we're in the metaverse, right? I think on top of safety, the other thing I'd highlight is that there's going to be more and more democratization, obviously more people having access to Horizon Worlds and hopefully more accessible entry points coming in the future. And then the other thing I just wanted to shout out again is the working with creators to really connecting in an authentic way with diverse voices and communities, which I think was really crucial to the success of this project. So any final pearls of wisdom, Greg, anything you want to leave listeners with or anyone watching us today?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell a personal story because I think others may relate to it. And it was my sort of aha moment for when Horizon Worlds and the Metaverse started to really make sense to me personally. So when I first got my headset, it was just an incredible experience. The setup, putting it on and walking through was jaw-dropping. I was completely wowed. I was exploring, different worlds to get a sense of what's out there so that when we're building the Mastercard True Self world, I could understand more. And I went into a world that allowed people to walk onto a stage and, join a band. And there were guitars and there was a drum kit and there was a microphone and there was a keyboard. And as a child, I, always dreamed of being in a band. I took piano lessons. I wasn't very good. People told me I had a terrible singing voice. I was discouraged to even try to sing, even though I really wanted to. I tried to learn how to play guitar, but I was the only left-handed kid in a class full of righties and I couldn't follow along. And I was one after another discouraged as a kid with anything musical that I tried to do. And I never joined a band. And to this day, decades later, I always regretted never being in a band. Anyway, I walked onto that stage in Horizon Worlds. I forget the name of the world I was in, unfortunately, but I walked onto the stage and I walked up to the keyboard and I started just going like this and joining the band and playing the keyboard. And 7, 8, 9 people started walking towards the stage and they were clapping and they were throwing confetti in the air and they were dancing. And I had this chills moment that finally I'm in a band and I can do this. And it felt really amazing. And it was such a moment for me. And I realized how powerful the metaverse is, not just to experience something incredible in the metaverse itself, but perhaps equally as incredible to trial something that you maybe were afraid to do, or maybe you thought you weren't good at, that you can do here in Horizon Worlds that maybe inspires you to revisit a passion offline. So yes, we have a piano in our house and I haven't done much with it. And I'm now thinking, not only do my kids need piano lessons because they should explore that should they want to, but I want to take piano lessons again also. And being in that experience gave me the confidence. So it's really powerful. So I encourage everyone to do so. I think I remember in the 1980s when like camcorders came out, like video recorders, and they were so expensive and so unattainable. And like, it took so long for the price point to come down to where people could actually record video. I think it's great that the Quest 2 headsets are at a price point that, is hopefully somewhat attainable to people, that they can, save up and experience this because it is just a wonderful thing to do. With that, and I'm going back to inclusion a little bit too, on your prior question, because we thought a lot about the web-based version of True Self World, and is it something that should prohibit us from being in Horizon World because it's a headset only experience? We decided the headset is the best experience to experience the metaverse, and we weren't going to cut ourselves short and not do this because not everyone has a headset. So I'm glad we did it, because you can't replicate the experience of virtual reality with the headset. That said, should there be opportunity for web-based experience for those that don't have a headset or don't have the means to acquire a headset? Like, yes, we as a brand want to be part of that. And from an inclusion perspective, we think it's really important that everyone does have access. So
Absolutely. I think I love your story about the band, and particularly I love the humanity of it. I think when you hear virtual reality, it can feel like something a little bit isolating or unreal, but all of the best moments I've had working on this project and in Horizon Worlds have been moments of connection, like that one when the people were cheering you as you clapped on the stage. Greg, I just want to thank you. I want to thank you, number one, for your time today. I want to thank you and the full Mastercard team for being such great partners to Meta's Creative Shop throughout this project, having the bravery to do something new, to experiment on our platforms and to explore their creative potential. And I want to thank Mastercard for continuing to be such an ally to the LGBTQIA plus community. It was so fun, but also rewarding to show up for that community in a new way. And I hope everyone listening goes and checks out True Self World if they can.
Thanks so much, Fionnuala, and echoing the same thanks to you and your team. I mean, the bravery you all had to come to us with a big idea and work on this together was just the best, the very best. One last story. Just yesterday, 2 days ago, I was driving my son to baseball practice, and out of nowhere, he said to me, "Dad, is the most favorite thing that you work on the Metaverse stuff?" I said, "Yeah, it really was my most favorite thing that I've worked on so far this year." And he said, "I can tell. You're so happy when you talk about it." And I thought it was just such a beautiful observation from an 11-year-old to just, be attuned to the joy that a project like this has created, not just for me, but for everyone that worked on it, and not just for everyone that worked on it, but most importantly, for everyone who's experienced it. So echoing your plug there for everyone who hasn't seen it yet to, go out and give it a try. If you don't have a headset, find someone who has a headset and experience it. You'll probably want a headset after experiencing it, because it is incredible. And thank you, Fionnuala and team at Meta and our agency McCann for being great partners on this.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and would like to give a special thank you to Fionnuala and Greg for a wonderful discussion on inclusion and equity. If you'd like to see footage of Fionnuala and Greg playing around in Horizon Worlds during their conversation, you'll find a link to the video and any additional resources mentioned in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to subscribe and leave us a 5-star review. Thank you for listening to the Meta Business Innovation and Technology Podcast.